Hello, I am Hunter Griles, and today I will be telling you about William Bagley. William Bagley was an American author, editor, and educator who was born in Detroit, Michigan on March 15th, 1874. Now, obviously, the most important of these being an educator, today I'm going to talk to you about how Bagley ideas shaped education and what kind of impacts he had overall on the American education. And at the end, I will give a critique on the ideas that I think Bagley had and also give you a professional critique on his ideas as well. So, starting out for Bagley, he received his undergraduate degree from the Agricultural College of the state of Michigan, which is now known as Michigan State. He then went and furthered his education at the University of Chicago and the University of Illinois, where he would earn his graduate degree. And lastly, he would end his studies at Cornell University, where he would receive a doctorate in psychology and education. So now moving away from background information, we can now kind of get into the meat and potatoes of Bagley's ideas and his overall impacts on education. Bagley was an essentialist when it came to education. He believed that there were core subjects that children needed to know in order to have what he called a general education. He, through this education, would be the transmission of different traditional values and heritage that the teacher would put into the curriculum. So it's very important to him that these values and traditions be put into the curriculum by the teacher. So important that he was a big critic of the progressivism movement. He thought that children, while they should have a role in their own education, he didn't believe that the there should be an overall freedom for the children to choose their curriculum. He believed that too much freedom for these children and too much importance on their personal interests would kind of deter them from learning the essential knowledge that all children need to know. And his basic foundation of education started at the elementary level, of course, where they would learn basic skills such as reading, writing, and listening skills. And those skills would kind of build on top of each other as they go out through their schooling and would eventually grow into the mastering of subjects such as literature, history, sciences, mathematics, and so on and so forth. So those basic foundational skills were were something that he really valued, and he really stressed the importance of having them in his curriculum. Now moving towards his impacts on education. So he was really one of the first people to kind of professionalize uh, the teaching profession. So he wrote over 30 books and articles, basically showing new teachers how to become a teacher. He wrote many books on how to deal with classroom management activities, as well as just general overall curriculum and how he thought the curriculum should be based, going back to his ideas there. Another impact that he had was the creation of the Essentialistic Education Society, kind of bringing that set of ideas into a broader sense to be spread as well as critiqued from other people who had other ideas in education. And lastly, here the another thing that he had an impact on, not necessarily directly, but very indirectly, had an influence on Common Core standards. So, you know, basically what he was saying was these Common Core standards. He wanted these traditional skills that should be passed down to children, um, and they should be, very uniform throughout the states, country, everything like that. Okay, now going on to my personal critique of William Bagley here and his ideas. So, just being an educator for the last 2 years and kind of seeing the decline in those skills, uh, the traditional values and the traditional heritage that I was kind of brought up in during school, kind of seeing those decline has really, in my sense, brought down education as a whole. Um, so I would tend to agree with um, Bagley's statements there. I do think that children's interests should be put into learning because of that buy-in factor that you get from kids. But also, I do believe that there are intrinsic values that need to be passed on through children, such as respect, honesty, integrity, everything like that. I feel like those should definitely be brought down into the younger generations. Um, so yeah, that's kind of my critique on his role. On his ideas. I think that overall, I mostly agree with his ideas, and I think that there is definitely room to kind of grow there um, from his ideas and perspective. Um, Now, a professional critique. Of course, his main opponent being John Dewey actually had classes with John Dewey, um, and John Dewey being the progressivist that he is, he would say the counter argument to this that kids should have more of a say in what they're learning. Their interests should be more integrated into the curriculum. So it's a stark contrast, basically two ends of the spectrum between Dewey and Bagley. Um, Not very well seeing eye to eye in most aspects. Although I do think Bagley did want children to play a role in their own education, just in a more hard-working way. Like they should be very they should want to have an education based on those traditional values. But once you got away from those traditional values, that's when Bagley drew the line. And I think Dewey was more able to extend that line out uh, based on those children's interests. So, yeah, that is my conclusion for this handout project. Thank you.